All rise. Cosmic Court is now in session. The Honorable Universe presiding. The Cosmic Court now calls case number Cosmos-2026-06-A. The Universe versus Pearl, the sign of Cancer. The defendant is charged with grand emotional hoarding in the first degree. Additional charges include weaponized nostalgia, selective memory under oath, and willful misuse of a cosmic blessing. Pearl has been summoned to appear before this court on account of June 2026 being, and I cannot stress this enough, her month. By the time this month is over, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun will have all moved through Cancer. The universe is about to move into Pearl's living room, hand her flowers in a gift basket, and Pearl is going to look at all of it and say, "But what did you mean by that?" And that is why we are here. Pearl, cardinal water, ruled by the moon, known to the court as the Zodiac's designated emotional archivist. She doesn't forget things. She files them, alphabetically, by how much they hurt. On a good day, Pearl is the person who remembers your birthday, knows how you take your coffee, and will drop everything to sit with you through the worst night of your life. On a bad day, she will remind you of that in detail during an argument about something completely unrelated 6 months later. The court will now review the case file. Pearl enters June 2026 in the final weeks of a year-long Jupiter transit through Cancer. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, and more please, has been exalted in her sign since June of 2025. That's 12 months of the cosmos saying yes to Pearl. 12 months of open doors, emotional growth, and opportunities. 12 months of blessings she didn't have to earn, just receive. Jupiter leaves Cancer on June 30th. The party's almost over. And the question this court must answer is this: what did she do with it? Did she grow? Did she open up? Did she let any of that abundance actually change her? Or did she just collect it all, stack it in the corner of her emotional living room, and keep circling back to that one thing someone said in 2019? Let's look at the evidence. So Jupiter has been in Pearl's sign for a year. We covered that. But before Jupiter leaves, it does one last thing. On June 9th, Venus, love, beauty, pleasure, money, meets Jupiter at 25 degrees Cancer, a conjunction. The two most generous planets in the solar system standing in Pearl's living room together, handing her one final gift on the way out the door. This is the most abundant love and money aspect of the entire year, and it's happening in Pearl's sign, in Pearl's house, for Pearl, as a goodbye. And here is what the court knows about Pearl. She is going to receive this farewell blessing and do one of two things. She's either going to immediately give it away because Cancer nurtures everyone before themselves, or she's going to receive it with one hand while holding a grudge with the other. Well, this is nice, but it would be nicer if my mother had said that thing differently in 2003. Pearl does not know how to simply receive. She has to process it through 40 years of emotional context first. By the time she's done filtering the blessing through every wound she's ever had, The blessing is unrecognizable. It's just another thing that reminded her of something. The prosecution rests on Exhibit A. Exhibit B. 4 days after the most abundant conjunction of the year, Venus hits a square to Chiron, the wounded healer, at the crisis degree. 29 degrees. The last degree of a sign. The I'm about to leave and I'm taking the lesson with me whether you learned it or not degree. This is the cosmos saying, Pearl, that blessing you just received on the 9th, it's about to bump into every old wound you haven't dealt with. Your attachment patterns, your fear of rejection, the way you confuse being needed with being loved, the way you give and give and give and then resent people for not giving back in a language you never even taught them. Venus square Chiron doesn't create the wounds. It illuminates it. And Pearl, who has the emotional memory of an institution, already knows exactly which wound this is. She's been circling it for years. She just didn't expect it to show up right now. Not during her good month. Not while Jupiter was still home. But that's exactly when Chiron works. Not in the dark months, in the abundant ones. Because the wound is loudest when you have everything and still feel empty. Exhibit C. Mercury. Communication, thinking, perception. The way we tell ourselves a story of what happened. Goes retrograde in Cancer, in Pearl's house, in Pearl's emotional filing cabinet. This means that starting around June 12th, Pearl is going to begin subtly rewriting history. Not on purpose. That's not how Mercury retrograde works. It's more like the files start getting shuffled, the labels fall off, and Pearl starts opening old folders and reading them with today's feelings instead of the feelings she had when it happened. That text from 3 months ago, she's going to reread it and it's going to mean something different. That conversation with her sister, she'll remember it wrong. Not maliciously, just wrong. The emotional filter shifts and now the whole memory is tinted a different color. By June 29th, when Mercury officially stations retrograde, Pearl is fully in it. Miscommunication, misinterpretation, taking things personally that were not personal, responding to what she felt instead of what was said. And because this is Cancer, she won't tell you she's upset. She'll just get quiet, and then she'll get quieter, and then 3 weeks later she'll bring it up like it just happened. Because to her, it did. It's been playing on a loop inside her head since mid-June, and you didn't even know there was a conversation going. That is Mercury retrograde in Cancer. It's not a tech glitch. It's an emotional replay. One more thing the court once noted for the record. The sun enters Cancer on June 21st, the summer solstice. The longest day of the year and the beginning of Cancer season proper. Pearl gets her annual solar return, her power up, her birthday energy, the moment the spotlight swings to her. And it arrives while Mercury is already in its pre-retrograde shadow, while the Venus Chiron wound is still fresh, while Jupiter is packing its bags. So Pearl gets the throne, she gets the light, she gets her season, and she is sitting in it misreading texts, reopening old wounds, and mourning the end of an abundance cycle before it's even technically over. Maximum feeling, minimum clarity. That is the energy Pearl carries into her own birthday season this year. The court would like that noted. The court has reviewed the evidence. Pearl is found guilty of grand emotional hoarding in the 1st degree, guilty of weaponized nostalgia, guilty of selective memory under oath, and guilty of willful misuse of a cosmic blessing, specifically for being handed the most generous transit of 2026 and filtering it through unresolved pain until it no longer resembles a gift. Pearl is hereby sentenced to the following: 30 days of not rereading old text messages. The court doesn't care what you think you'll find. You won't. You'll just find a new way to be hurt by something that's already over. Pearl is further ordered to receive 1 compliment per day, fully, with no deflecting. No turning it into a reason to talk about someone else. Someone says something kind and Pearl sits with it for 10 full seconds before responding. The court will be watching. And finally, Pearl is sentenced to say the following words out loud once before Jupiter leaves her sign on June 30th. I had a good year. I'm allowed to just have had a good year. No qualifiers, no but, just that. This case is closed. Court is adjourned.